Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this. It's a series, and I do not want to say too much. It's a series. When you put something is a series, that means I hope I'm very audible. Let me increase the volume. I have two pieces here, so I think this one is louder than the other one.
You are very
So,
loud and clear.
okay, thank you for that confirmation. So it's a
Mhm.
series, and I don't want to talk too much because we have the experts in this field. Being in tech does not mean you know everything. So me, I am giving Kayode this respect, this kudos to do justice to becoming a data, because oftentimes we have a conversation. Oh, I want to do. I'm trying to pivot into tech, or I run a business, or I have this assignment, or have this engagement, or I hold a particular position. But for every decision you need to take, it has to come from data. And that's why we are doing this today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker, who is Kayode Ogunbowale. K for short. K for short. So
Mhm.
let me meet Kayode, and then the floor will now be his. So Kayode is, I'm reading from another computer just in case you see my face turning here. Kayode is a data analyst or data engineer who works at Shell Nigeria Group of Companies for the past 15 years. He has worked on several interesting data projects such as late payment dashboard, OPEX, and CAPEX expenditure dashboards. He's going to tell us what those ones mean.
Mhm.
Then master data and several other automation projects. Automation projects. These are very interesting projects. While while actively participating in the finance department digitalization journey, is a Microsoft data engineer certified. So Kay is passionate about data analytics or engineering and processes and process automation because he loves solving various business problems by using tools such as Alteryx, Excel VBA, SQL, Python, Power BI. You will hear too low. There are a lot of tools, right? In the world of data analytics, there's quite a lot of tools. And then he's very passionate about various applications of those tools to understanding and shaping data to answer business questions. In their spare time, he enjoys reading. If he's not doing all of these, he reads, building side projects, and swimming. Hey, and then generally meeting people. And he currently lives in Lagos, Nigeria. So maybe I should erase that part. So
Okay,
join
you can use that.
Join me in welcoming Kayode to this session I've been looking forward to, and I'm so glad that it's happening today. So thank you so much, Kayode, for doing this for us today. So the floor is yours. So I'll stop sharing
Okay,
my screen.
thanks for having me as well. So
Um,
let me share my slides.
okay.
So most times, I mean, recently I've been hearing people telling or people asking me, how do I get into data? How do, hold on, I need to take this my excess. At times I'm not used to it. Hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes, your screen is up.
Okay. So most people usually ask, how do I get into data? What do I need to do? Any special talent and any special training and all of that. My own journey is strange because I stumbled into the world of data. So I initially started as a business process analyst, in which um, some of the stuff that I do is to look at a business process, then help an organization to improve it. So I'll look at all your processes, break it down, eliminate items that are not efficient or that are not required. You know, when you want to work from point A to point B, some people would take zig, 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 zig instead of going straight line. So for me, my job back then was take out all of those zigzag so that you can go straight line. So I got a break into data when I had to support a tool called enhanced cost reporting, which basically is to look at financial data in such a way that um, it will be easier for decision makers to just look at their cost, or this are my actual, this are my plan, and then be able to make a decision on reduce cost or spend more or push money from projects that are not performing to projects that are performing. So that was how I got into data. Then in 2012, I was drafted into an MI project where I have to automate over 60 plus reports using Excel, and in the process optimize it so that this group of report run by maybe 10 or 20 people will be generated from a central location by maybe 1 or 2 people. So from there, I started expanding on data. So becoming a data analyst is something that I wish I had many years back, because I wouldn't have stumbled into the field. It would have been a gradual process, and also um, I mean, somebody would have mentored me or walked me through the process. So we'll just be going through some of the things that I required, some of the things that I've learned over the years, and some of the things that I believe can short circuit your journey into this particular bit. So let me put this in a slideshow so that we can start from there. So this is about me. Ramad had already said a lot of it. This is just my professional background. I use a lot of tools, and I've used a lot of tools over the years, but these are some of the current ones that I use, especially the SAP Business Warehouse, Ultrix, SQL, and Power BI. I don't use Excel like when I first started out some years ago, but it's still something that once in a while I still get to use it. So passion for me is I love data. I love seeing patterns in everything, because for me, data is like seeing patterns and all of those things. Personal life, I'm a family man, husband, proud daddy of two, one 9 years old and one 11, going on 12 actually. Then usually I'm a lifelong learner. So if I'm off work most times, I'm likely reading up on something or reviewing the news about what is happening within my space and all of those things. I Also, I used to play games regularly before, but now I just don't have the time. But whenever I play, I'm usually a Pro Evolution soccer person. So if you are a FIFA fan, you're on a long thing, I think you should try PS. Then secondly, I play Assassin's Creed. I've not been able to finish the last two series because I just never had the time. Hopefully one of these days I'll sit down on a Saturday and fix it. So now, introduction, data analysis. Before you can say that, oh, I want to be a data analyst, or I want to come into the data field, because for me personally, I believe this is the entry position into other aspects of data analysis. And some of the definitions that I could get online is this process of examining, cleaning, transforming, and modeling data to discover useful information, conclusion, and insights. Most times, people will be wondering that why do I need data analysis? Data analysis for me, or from my own perspective, is a process in which there is this, I mean, to discover a story in what you do as a business or as an individual, because even as an individual, you are generating data, your body temperature, your heart rate, your walking pace, your heartbeat, and all of those things generate data. Like this, my Fitbit now is generating a lot of data that I can see on their app. And I'm sure that it also generates more information. So you as a person could take an interest in yourself, data coming from yourself or coming from your environment. But most times, most organizations need somebody to be able to help them to refine the data, the raw data they've gotten, refine it and present it in an actionable format that they can work with. I wish I can show some of my work, but some of them are behind NDAs because there are some confidential stuff. So your role, responsibilities, skills, qualities, for me, it's collecting, organizing, interpreting data, creating visualization and report. My typical workflow is this. I collect the data, I clean it, then present it in a visual appealing way. So I focus more on data collection and cleaning because once there is a hiccup with your data accuracy, which might be as a result of you not cleaning properly or you not doing what you need to do in the prior step, people will just look at the report and throw it into the bin. I'll give you examples as we go on. So your role, you need to do all of this: collect, organize, interpret data, create visualization report. If you are working in a very large team, you don't even have to be the one to create the visualization. Somebody else might be doing it. But if you are in a small team, you might discover that you have to do the end-to-end, gather the data, clean it, model, push it into Power BI or into Tableau or into any other tool that you use for visualization. The end game is that you must have a report to the decision makers or the people or your relevant stakeholders so that they can what do you call it? They can make decisions with the data you are presenting to them. Data is never in a vacuum. I mean, actionable insights is never in a vacuum, which means that you just don't create report for creating report sake. It must be to one end goal. So skills and qualities required: analytic work mindset, because you must be able to quickly analyze and to be able to see patterns. And you also must be able to um, look at data in different dimensions. Attention to detail. Just like I said, if you are presenting data and some people can spot inaccuracy in it, maybe where you are supposed to put 10, maybe you put 00. People tend to question um, your data set. And once they start questioning your data set and everybody latch onto it, before you know it, you lose credibility. So as a data analyst, attention to detail. In fact, for people that work with me, because I manage a team of 6 people, 3 are data focused. And I usually explain to them that, see, when people look at your data set, they must you must be able to defend your numbers to the last couple. You know, in accounting, they will say, oh, materiality concept, which is if there's $1,000 overboard, you don't have to bother. I do tell them that, see, I'm concerned to the last cent and I'm concerned to the last couple. So, which means that you must pick all errors before your report goes out. Oh, sorry. I think, I mean, hold on. Sorry. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay,
And
sorry. I touched the wrong thing on this computer.
okay.
So while my PowerPoint is processing, is my screen okay? My screen is still. So these are your
Yes.
roles. I mean, as a analyst. Hold on, let's move to where that is. Okay, skills, quality, attention to the problem solving, effective communication. In all my years, and also training of people, one of the things that I usually have problem with when training people is the ability for people to look at what the question is or what the business is trying to understand and be able to translate it into an actionable report or into data. It is something that I'm still working on. And one of the approach that I've taken in recent years is to be a project based. So it is not just going to be theory. It's going to be, let's look at it from the project. I mean, let's look at it from the business questions down to how it's translated to Excel and Co. So problem solving is, for me, I think I'll even rank it as number one as a data analyst, as a skill set that you have to have. Opportunities in this field, opportunity is diverse because every organization on this planet is generating data. In some cases, some people are generating petabyte of data per minute. In some cases, some people are just generating few thousands, few hundreds. But every industry, even in our country, like in our country, Nigeria, everybody is generating data. And so meaning that data analysis or data analysis is required in being able to interpret some of this data. And these are some of the jobs and role titles within the field, which is a data analyst, a business analyst. In my experience, I really do not, in some of the projects that I've worked on, I really do not use a business analyst because it is a role that I can also do, right? And so for me, it is from a data analyst. I'm not a data scientist. I know some principles around machine learning techniques and all of those things, but my focus or most of my energy is usually between the role of a data analyst and a data engineer. So I wear multiple hats depending on what is happening at that particular instance. But these are some of the titles that are within the field. In fact, we even have a data architect. I don't think I include that here, which looks at the overall strategy for the organization as relates to their data. So it's an emerging field because that's what I would call it. As at few years ago, I don't think there are so much information about a data analyst, a business analyst, a data scientist, or a data engineer, because one way or the other, some people are just doing all of these roles without putting a formal title on it. But in recent years, it had become more clearer about each person's role and each person's function within the data ecosystem. So for me, as a data analyst, responsible collecting, processing, analyzing data, and I also, like I said, I also wear the data engineer hat, which is to design and maintain data infrastructure, pipelines, and system for efficient data storage and retrieval analysis. So all of these within my role, I do that. So as a data analyst, you have the skill set required by all of these particular job titles that I've put in. So you taking it further is now dependent on you being curious, your willingness to learn about something that is outside of your scope and all of those things. So as a data engineer, for example, you get to maintain a lot of pipelines. You have to, whenever you're building up a project or spinning up a data project, you have to think about how the data is going to be stored, how it's going to be retrieved. Is it going to be retrieved by Excel? Is it going to be Power BI? Is it going to be Tableau? These are some of the things that you need to put into consideration. And these are some of the roles that are available within the field. In some cases, you will see roles that, I mean, you will not see a clear name like, oh, a data analyst or business analyst. In some cases, you even see software engineer. You will now put in bracket or hyphen data. So it depends. Skills required. Like I said, I've explained this earlier. Analytical skills, critical thinking, problem solving, communication skills, because it is not enough for you to be technically sound. You must also be able to communicate what you are saying. So when I started out, I was working on just my technical side only and forgetting the communication side until I had somebody, a colleague that called me and said that, you know what, you are good technically, but you can't communicate your ideas. So you need to start working on your communication skills. So in order to bridge that particular gap, I started training people more. I started getting feedback from people. What I'm communicating, is it simple enough? Is it something that you can easily relate with? Can I talk about the data, or can I story tell the data that I'm looking at, and all of those things? So these are things that are critical for you to being successful as a data analyst. Attention to details, like I said, it is of utmost importance. Once people come into your data and they start seeing comma, there will be a problem. So there was an issue recently in my place of work where we're looking at the travels data, and some people were saying that, oh, the travels number generated by your team is not correct. So because of that, I'm not going to take responsibility for some of this action. And I now said, you know what, wait a minute. This is what I'm looking at from the source system. This is my data. You can see that it matches. So what is the problem? Then we're able to drill down to the fact that at the point of generating, not from my team, at the point of inputting some of these items into the system, what happens is that, let's say, Ramat is traveling for IT, but Ramat was once in finance. So when Ramat was booking his travel, booking her travels, one of the things she did was to use a call center from finance to book that travel. And so by the time the course was going to roll in, automatically Ramat's course is going to roll into finance instead of IT. So now the finance manager is looking at his data and saying that, oh, Ramat is IT, but I'm seeing her in my call center. What's happening? Because of that, they want to put some sort of doubt or some sort of, oh, this data is inaccurate. And I just had to tell them, I see, this is what happened, this is what happened, and this is how we're going to fix it. So fixing it for me talks to the problem solving part, because it's not enough for you to identify issues, or when people call your data into question and you'll not be able to defend it. So attention to detail, problem solving, you can see how all of these things are playing together. There are skills that you would have acquired separately, but one way or the other, as you are doing the job, they are coming together, being integrated, and you are using it to provide business value. Then programming skills, most people don't believe that Excel has programming side, and I do tell them that when you write a macro, I mean, for some people, you just record your macros and then do some other things. Yeah, but Excel also has other programming functionalities if you are interested in that particular field, which it has functions, it has loop, it has a variable, it uses variable, uses constant, and all of those things that we use in our normal programming languages like Java, Python, R, and SQL. So for you as a person or as a data analyst, one of the first things that you need to do is to be able to answer any question. I usually tell people that at times the tool doesn't matter, because based on the organization that you work with, you will pick the best available tool. In the past, I've had to use Excel and Excel VBA. In the past, for some project, I had to use Python. In some project, I had to use combination of Python, SQL, Excel, everything together in a particular project. So depending on your use case or the organization that you work for, it is advisable that you know a wide variety of tools, but what you are going to use ultimately is going to depend on the project and it's going to depend on the organization. Statistical knowledge, understanding of statistical method and techniques for analyzing data distribution, correlation, probabilities. In all my years, I never fully had to use statistical knowledge except to call some, or actually some average, mean, and core as statistical knowledge, but it's not as deep as some people do use it, like those people in data science and all of those things. So, but for me, I really don't use that. But like I said, it depends on the project or the um, things that you need to do. Tools and tech within the space. Introduction to data analysis tool. You have Excel, Tableau, Power BI. In some people's case, you have Google Data Studio, you have Looker, you have Qlik. It depends. When you are doing some jobs or when you're applying for some jobs, they will tell you the tools that they use and all of that. But for the most popular ones that I've seen over the years is Excel, Tableau, Power BI. Programming languages, Python, R. Personally, for me, I hate R. I just don't understand that environment. So I'll go with Python most times. Python is also useful in case you're a web developer, or in case you want to pivot away from data analysis into other things. At least Python will allow you to be able to up into all of those other fields easily. Data management system. Professionally, I use MS SQL, but I understand MySQL, Progress SQL, MongoDB. For data analysis, I've not really used MongoDB, but um, I've tested out a proof of concept using MongoDB, but professionally, I'll stick with your typical SQL systems like MS SQL, MySQL, PostgreSQL. So depending on the organization, you will know the database that they are using. So for most organization or for most projects that I've seen, in fact, I forgot to include Oracle. I just don't like that too, but I've seen colleagues using Oracle for their projects, and I've built wrappers that transfer data from my SQL into Oracle and all of that. Then others, you have like Alteryx, you have like SAP Business Object, you have like Spotfire. I've used Spotfire before for another project that has to do with payments dashboard. You've seen, I mean, you have Looker and all of those things. So somebody will be wondering that, but Alteryx is not a data analysis tool. But like I said earlier, tools doesn't matter when you want to answer a question. You can use any tool that you're comfortable with in answering any question that you want to. Wait, are you guys still seeing me? Hold on. I think. Oh, sorry. Think, okay, now this is better. So Alteryx, Spotfire, Google Data Studio, Looker. When you're applying for some jobs, you'll see some of these things. And if you have time, learn them. But me, I will tell you that you should start with Excel, Tableau, Power BI. Alteryx and SAP Business Objects are expensive. They don't have, you must belong to an organization before you can even get a trial license for Alteryx in this particular case, because the cost of it is slightly expensive. So it is not something an individual will likely play with, or, you know. So educational resources, online courses, Coursera, Udacity, EDX, EDM, books for beginners. The ones that I found really interesting for me is Secret for Data Analysis by Katie. It is very simple and easier to follow. Then Sam Teach Yourself Microsoft Excel in 24 hours. I think the Teach Yourself group of series also even have one for VBA. They have one for all sort of topics on Excel. But this one, I find it particularly useful because I remember using it some years back. Then YouTube channels and tutorial, I find Alex, the analyst, easier to follow, is good. So if you are the video kind of person, follow Alex, the analyst. Free Code Camp usually do some, if you are familiar with them, there are some of their um, YouTube tutorials that deals with data analysis and code. So just um, have a look as well. Guy in the Cube for me is one of those interesting Power BI person, but he has other things within his space. But for me, I like whenever there are new Power BI news or new Power BI things to do, I go to the guy in the cube. He's really good and he has a fun way of passing on his message. So these are some of the things that you should pay attention to. Then community forums and groups, like in this particular case, we have prompt groups. Drop your questions in such groups so that you can get answers to them. You have Reddit, you have Stack Overflow. The data sources, this is usually one of the biggest issue for people, especially if you are not working for an organization as a data analyst. Maybe you are training up or you are trying to become one so that you can get a better job or something. So these are some of the data sources that you can play with. You have Cargo, you have Y Finance. People will wonder why Y Finance. Why finance is because some of you might just be interested in stock market data. And so going to Y Finance gives you an opportunity to be able to do that. Google Dataset Search, data.gov. This is the data.gov is a US government site, and it has a lot of data sets that you can play with. Then when you see some of the data sets, you know that Nigeria as a country has a long way to go because we are not fully curating our data. But this data.gov allows you to see so many aspects of data around you. Then you also have Google Cloud Public Data Set. In some cases, I think this one is in BigQuery, if I remember correctly. And if you are aspiring to be a data engineer, you can design a data pipeline that take this data from Google BigQuery into maybe a Progress or MySQL or MS SQL database. So these are things that you can play with. So tips and tricks. After all of this story, let me tell you how I would have done it if I had to go into a data analyst career path now. How I'm going to do it is that I'm going to create a data portfolio. It is very important. Like now, if you ask me now, oh, what's your data portfolio? I can tell you some, but it is not something that I did because like I said, some of my projects are strongly behind NDAs. So I can't really put some of them out there. So, but for you, you have, if you want to set yourself apart right now, you need to create a data portfolio. And in order for you to create a data portfolio, you have to make sure that your data portfolio or your portfolio is showing three strong projects that goes through the process of collecting data, cleaning data, transforming data, modeling data, and in some cases, presenting the data set. For most people that wants to present their data set in public, and like this, you want to create some fancy visualization, which I didn't put here, is you need to use Tableau Public. It allows you to create stuff for free, and then you can push it online. In case of Power BI, it is just usually going to be, what do you call it? It is going to be just a PBIX file, which, yeah, you can provide a link to it, but it's not like somebody clicking on your profile link or clicking on your project link and they are taken to a dashboard that is visually appealing and all of those things. So then you need to do extensive project documentation, which in this particular case, you have to follow the KISS principle, keep it simply stupid. You have to assume that the people that you are writing this for do not have the technical know-how or do not have the patience to pick up their dictionary and be looking at some of your technical jargon. So you as a data analyst, we have to write something simple and something that non-technical users can easily follow, and resources that you can use in this particular page to show yourself. Because for me, I don't like paying for some certain things. So I like free things. So GitHub pages is one of those things that you can do to put out yourself. Document your project. Or you pick a project that is analyzing maybe airport data, airport related data, or in some cases you're analyzing bike data as relates to whether, do people usually bike when it rains and all of those things, or you're trying to answer so many questions. So just write down your thoughts, write down what the project is about, write down what you want to do. But like I said, keep it simple. In fact, when I started out, I discovered that I want to sound too technical. No, I want to sound like an expert. So I created complicated projects, complicated documentation. At the end of the day, I realized that people, once they see that your project is too complicated or is too technical, they'll just dump it and go and pick their Excel. Even if they are going to sleep there, they are going to dump that. Then resources, you need to leverage extensively on resources around you, either from the community, the prompt community like we have right now, YouTube, tutorials, expert communities, either on Discord or on Reddit or prompts. You just have to leverage everything that is around you. In some cases, you need online data sources, which was in my previous slide that shows where you can get your data sources. In some cases, I was working on the data that has to do with real estate. I don't have the data. So one of the things that I did was to go on Zillow, which is looking at real estate within the United States, and wrote a scrapper in Python that scrapped their data. I just had to be careful so that I don't disturb their legitimate business operations. But I just went there, picked the data that I wanted, and ran with it. So you as a person also, you might want to work on a project and you realize that the data is in or is scattered all over the place or it's behind somebody's website. Scrap responsibly. Don't just scrap anyhow that they will block you and block your IP address. So scrap responsibly. Then this last one is make noise, publish your portfolio online. I recently discovered this site, which is datascienceportfolio.io, that helps you to put all your projects together under a profile. I think you have some flexibility in designing on how it looks like. It's something that you can try out. Then you have GitHub pages, you have LinkedIn posts. Write it out there, push yourself out there. For some people that like Twitter, put yourself in that particular space, share what you've done with people out there, and then before you know it, you get better, you get known, and you get to make some cool money for people that like money. So that is it as you want to become a data analyst. I mean, like I said, from the onset, you have to pay attention to your learning. You have to have some right skill set or right mindset. That is, you must be analytic, problem solving. If you're not problem solving anyways, I don't think most of us will be employed, because one way or the other, we're employed to solve a problem. So problem solving, attention to detail. Then another bit is you must continue to learn. You can't say that, oh, I've learned about this, I have to stop. No, you have to continue to learn. It is a process that is never ending. It continues to go on and on and on and on and on. So you as a person, you have to also go on and on and on to make sure that you learn. There are always new things within your field. There are always things that are coming, things that are happening. So you as a person, you have to make sure that you are also learning and be out there. So that's it in a nutshell. So now, do you have a question for me?
Wow, 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 wow. This is I would say is eye opening. We always recently I've heard data is the next oil, right?
Oh, it is.
Data is actually the next oil. I want to say thank you so much for all of this insight. This is really eye opening in terms of I want to start. I want to become a data analyst. How? What are sometimes you just need a drive, a guide. So, and you've heard from from K himself. So it's time now to take questions. It's time to take questions, and feel free to either use the chat box or you can just mute and ask a question. Thank you. So Ryan says, just okay now. I think she's just giving compliments. Say brief and poignant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
that's one of the things you have to learn too as a data person. You have to be brief because you are
Mm.
talking to people that are super busy, and you need to just go straight to the point and tell them, oh God, you're overspending. Oh God, you've gone over your budget. Oh God, if we continue like this, in 2 months you'll run out of money. So you have to be able to tell them that.
Well, so I have a question, and you kind of like list highlighted it in showing your portfolio. So and then you made reference to a website, datascienceportal.io. So this is just essentially, you know, imagine I'm just starting as a data analyst, right? I'm still learning. Sometimes this situation is usually for new tech entrants. They already have something going, but they are looking at pivoting into tech, and there has to be a balance. So what advice you give to someone who is just a new tech entrant, who perhaps have been learning on a learning journey of becoming a data analyst? How will they showcase themselves while still trying to keep income coming in their present role? But yes, they want to pivot, they want to, maybe I am working as maybe an accountant now, but I want to become a data analyst. I've actually started learning. I have I'm gaining the skills. How do I project myself or, to be attractive? I don't know if you get my question. What do I do from
Yes.
where I am to where I am trying to get to? It's usually a challenge.
Okay. So For me, I look at it two ways. It's either you are trying to pivot within your organization or you want to go out to look at it. So for me, if you want to pivot within your organization, the first thing you need to do is you must volunteer for projects.
Yeah.
So if your job is to do normal day-to-day accounting and you know that there's a data team or there's a data gap in your organization, you can step forward and say that be able to I want to be able to help in this particular space. You must have this mindset that I need to go into this space to help, because I discovered that when you tell people that you want to help them, it's easier to break into that environment than just sitting back and hoping that they will recognize you. No, it means that you have to get involved actively in that project. You have to get actively involved in that team. Like, for example, if I have free time, I usually go up to some teams. I mean, when I was still in a physical office, I usually walk down to some of my friends and other things and said, I'm just looking at your process. Maybe it takes you 10 days to do something. I'll just say that I think I can help you to reduce this to maybe just few hours. Do you want me to take a look at it? So you as a person, you need to step up. You need to step outside of your comfort zone. You need to say that, see, I want to learn in this particular space. I want to become somebody in this particular space, and I wouldn't mind participating in your project. So if it is externally, one of the things that I would tell you to do is this: look for projects that you can do that you know that it is relevant. Like I said, you need to actively be looking, because that's what I would say. You need to actively be looking. You need to look at, for example, I'll just log into Cargo and look at the data set that people have and just be looking at, this particular data set, I think I can tweak it in a certain way. I think I can create a project around it. I'll create a project around it, document it using the steps that I've highlighted here, and push it into some of these places. So for me, the way I say it is that you must actively step up and step out to be known. It's not just going to come to you. So for me, right now, as a data or as a digital champion in finance, one of the things is that I poke nose into other people's business. Let me put it that way. Or let's say you send me something and I think that it is inefficient, something that I should get within a day, I'm getting it in 2 weeks. I will tell you that, see, come, I can help you to improve your process. I can help you to work on this so that it's faster. So you as a person must be able to step out. It is not going to come to you. If you want something, I mean, like the Bible says, ask and it shall be given. So in this particular case, you have to go ask. In this particular case, I mean, don't be obnoxious about it. Don't be rude in some cases. Don't be rude. I mean, just try to tell them that, oh, you know what? I think I can make this better. I think I can help you to improve this. Like now, I'm creating some SAP related forms in Power Apps, right? I am one of the stakeholders on that process, which is you want to create a cost center in SAP, you send it to different stakeholders to approve, and I happen to be one of the approvals. But I realized that over time, the data in some of the forms that I'm getting, the Excel forms that I'm getting, are not accurate or out of date. So one of the things that I did was that I spoke with the team that is responsible for master data. I told them that, see, I can build you another form that is more updated, that is linked directly to SAP to always pick direct information. And they said, oh, we've been looking for something like that. So I am a stakeholder in it. It is affecting me, and I think that there should be a better process of doing it. And I'm offering to help them to improve the form. So opportunities will come. At times, those opportunities are usually not clear cut, but you as a person just need to say, okay, they've given me a tiny hole. I'm going to squeeze in, and expand it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, it answers it. It added a lot of tips to it. So my key takeaway is, when you are looking for something, look for it. Look for it shamelessly. Just look for it and don't be rude about it. Which is more like, just like you said, either opportunity on the outside or within where you are. And then one thing that also works is volunteering. So you could actually volunteer while let's say I'm in marketing and I really want to pivot into tech. And I know that there is and pivot into tech or in being a data analyst. I can volunteer to take some tasks within the other field so that it can it can help in being seen, and then before you know it, the opportunity will come to me. Thank you so much for that response. So we have other questions in the chat, and this is from Kafila Ayotola. She said, as a prospective business analyst, what are the specifics of this aspect of data analytics?
Like I also said during when we started this conversation, everything has data component in it. Everything, even you as a human, as data, you are generating data. As I'm sitting down, I'm generating data. As my hand is moving up and down, I'm generating data. As I'm talking to you, I'm generating data. So it's now up to you on what you want to do or how you want to play it. So as a business analyst, for example, in the data space, you are likely going to help with requirements, specifications, and understanding what the business or the project is trying to achieve. So I'll give you an example. Recently, I'm speaking with some um, group engineers, and they just send maybe one or two people after me that they need to understand how this report works in order for them to be able to document it, and then they will now pass it on to the what do you call it? They will now pass it on to the developers. So the business analysts amongst them are documenting everything, all the nuances, all the peculiarities of those reports that I'm explaining to them. And they are creating, at the end of the day, they are going to create this functional spec, or they are going to create what we call the ask in my own organization. They are going to create the what we call the ask, showing that this is the report, this is the source or where it is coming from. These are the attributes that are required in order for you to be able to run. And this is the expected output at the end of the day. So they are going to put together the documentation. They are going to be like the bridge between myself, the developers, and other business stakeholders. So your role at times could be fluid as a business analyst within the data space, but at the end of the day, you are just helping the entire process. But like I said, business analyst within data space is not common, because most times a data analyst or a data analyst would have been engaged to do that particular aspect. But I think it is something that if you have a background in business analysis, you can also be a data analyst, depending on what you're working on or the use case or the project. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have another question from Ogunlade Babatunde, and it says, other tools mentioned apart from Excel, are they like software like Excel, or are their functions alike with Excel? And then there's a follow-up. Okay, after that one, he has another question as well.
Okay, they are not like Excel. Excel
Yeah.
is unique. Let me put it that way. Excel is unique in such a way that it gives you what you put, what you see is what you get kind of scenario. But if you want to achieve the same thing in Python, you have to write code.
Mm.
You have to write code to collect, clean the data, then you can output it to Excel, or you can output it to what do you call it, to your screen, or depending on whatever you want to do. These are things that your projects demand. I mean, depending on your project, you'll be able to pick which tools that are required. For me now, if I'm doing a quick prototype, right, I use Excel. So let's say I want to understand the data that I'm working on. Before I take it to a tool like Ultrix or to a tool like Python, I'll take it to Excel, do a pivot, look at how it looks like, have a feel of all the linkages, all the relationship. Then before I start jumping into a more advanced tool to be able to do some of these things. So Excel it's in a class of its own. Python, R, and in fact, Python and R are typical programming languages. It's just that we use it for data because it is fast and efficient. So if you don't use Python or R, you still use your Excel. In most cases, they are also open source, which means that unlike Excel where you have to pay for money, I mean, you have to pay some subscription fees or you pay some money, you can jump into it right with Python. So for example, now I pick a data and I want to create a pivot. I have to write series of codes in Python to be able to do that. Meanwhile, I take the data set to Excel, run a pivot, and I'm done within seconds. Proof of concept, validated or invalidated. In fact, there are days that when I write codes or when I write, what do you call it? When I create workflows in Alteryx, I still go to Excel to do debugging because I'm not understanding what it is doing. So I'll go to Excel to try and debug, to try and understand what is happening. Then once I understand what is happening, I go back into my specialized tool and continue. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it should answer his question. So he has another question, and it says, "How can someone be certified? What are the costs implications?"
Cost implication. Which of the certification are you talking about now? Is
Mm.
it as a data engineer or as a Power BI analyst or which one?
Mm. Well, he didn't specify. Maybe you can unmute and just say that, because there are other questions. Questions are quite below. So we'll wait for you to clarify that. So there's another question from Elijah. It says, "What is the distinction between data analyst, data engineer, data scientist?" Yeah, I think this question is very, very relevant. You see, you wonder what is actually the difference between all of this.
Okay. So if you look at the job roles that I have up, you can
Mm,
see a data analyst responsible for collecting, processing, analyzing data to uncover actionable insights. As a data engineer, so as a data analyst, this is what you do. At times, you don't concern yourself with the infrastructure that is powering your data. You just go to, let's say, your SQL database, pick data from it, and do your report, and you're done, right? Or you go into a system like SAP and pick it. So you don't care how the data is stored, how it is retrieved. At times, you can care about retrieval as a data analyst because if you try to retrieve SQL data from Excel, you will sleep there. It is super inefficient. So you pay attention to your retrieval, then the analysis. So as a data engineer, for example, you build the pipeline, you select the database it is going to go into. In some cases, you might even need to also be able to restrict the kind of accesses or the kind of way people can retrieve their data sets. So as an engineer, you build, you maintain the pipeline. For example, assuming I'm on my official laptop now, I would have shown you some pipelines that are triggering. They run every day. They look at data, let's say from SAP, grab the latest data, dump it into a secure database where somebody had built, an analyst, for example, had built a Power BI dashboard that is looking at that data. So you as a data engineer will be responsible for all of that and maintenance. And if there's a break in the pipeline, you also go in and fix. Why, as a data analyst, you don't care about the infrastructure behind your data. Your own is I go into my SQL database or my Power BI, I go into my SQL database and it is grabbing the latest data and I'm working. That's it. As a data scientist, you are looking more at machine learning techniques to either predict or classify data. So I've seen situations whereby people will try to predict what is our cost for next month, or they will try to forecast what our cost is going to be for the next 5 years. So in order for them to be able to do that, they also leverage on the pipeline or infrastructure built by the data engineer to be able to train their models to either classify or predict, or depending on whatever they need to do. So their jobs can be intertwined, but in the same instance, they are clear. A data scientist that will spend most of his time on data infrastructure pipelines and all the extraction that needed to be done. We don't have time to be looking for an efficient machine learning technique or algorithm to work with. So in a large organization, the jobs are pretty much stratified. I mean, but in small organizations, you might discover that you are doing everything yourself. So I hope that clears it up.
Yeah, in fact, for me, it clears it up. I'm sure it clears it up Elijah too. So this is a compliment from Mustafa Shit. He says, "Thank you, Mr. K. You are just like a lighter and igniter. I felt the brightness while listening and the ignition taking place in me. I think I really need to pull up."
Yeah,
So
please do. Data is interesting.
yeah. So from Ifeanyi Okonkwo, it says, "How do you manage distractions and develop the mental strength to follow through on projects of your choice?"
Ah, I'm stubborn small. Let me put it that way. So, so like somebody said that when you are in your work mode, you don't get distracted.
Hmm.
The reason why I don't get distracted is it's something that is not new. I mean, it's something that I built before I even entered university. So, which is when I have a task, I need to complete it. It's not that I complete all my tasks 100%, but for things that I know that has implication, has cost implication, because I'm Ijebu and I don't like losing money and I don't like wasting money as well. So if it has to do with something that somebody is paying for, I've paid for, it gives me the required mental um, strength to complete it. So one of the things you can do is this: which ones are your work projects? Which projects are for your learning? And which project you are doing as your side also? So then you need to give time for it. For your work related project, I usually have this attitude around my work. I start work 8 o'clock and finishes by 5. So by 5, I usually push away my office laptop and maybe switch to my computer, my personal laptop, and do whatever I need to do on that particular space. So how do I keep them together is that I know that I'm working 8 to 5 as a professional. It means that I must give my best during that particular period. Then after that, take a break, then switch to my computer to either work on a side project or work on a side also. For my side project, one of the things that I have learned over the time is that I pick just maybe one or two at a time. I don't see one interesting thing and quickly say, "Oh, I want to do this." I don't see another interesting thing and say, "I want to do this." It is like a focused learning. I want to learn about a particular tool. Then it means that for the next few weeks, that's what I'm going to be learning. Like recently, I picked up Power Apps and I started working on a project. I didn't leave that project and run after something else until I finished at least the basic structure of what I'm trying to build. So you as a person, you need to mentally be forcing yourself to do what you need to do. And the way I see it is that even if I take all the time around this particular issue, I still have to do it. I still have to fix it. So try as much as possible to just say, take one project at a time, see it to like 80% or 90%. You can take a break, then come back later and finish it. So your focus, I mean, as you grow older, anyways, or as you have more responsibility and you need to make more money, your focus will become more razor and razor. A boss once told me that, "Oh, kind of, I noticed that you're now more serious." Immediately your daughter came. I said, yes, because I need to make money. So because I need to make money, my focus and all those, "Oh, I'm everywhere," starts narrowing down to what I need to do to make money. But for some people, I would say that your focus shouldn't be, "I want to make money alone." In some cases, your focus might be, "I want to learn something new." And so all your effort, everything that you want to do must be focused on that. Like, for example, when I was learning French, one of the things that I did was that I changed all my computer settings to French. So I was forced to concentrate on whatever I'm doing because it is coming in a language that I don't understand. So I need to concentrate. So you need to use everything around you to force yourself into focus. You can, like, if you are using a Mac computer, for example, I think it's on Windows as well. You can have a focused, what do you call it? A focused time where you, all notifications, everything gets off while you focus on your tasks, maybe for the next 1 hour, and also use small time. I prefer 45 minutes to 1 hour. I don't do 2 hours reading. I don't do 3 hours reading. It doesn't work for me. It is either 45 minutes or 1 hour. So it's something that you just play around and you discover what works for you.
Wow, thank you so much. I hope that is
Yeah.
helpful. Ifeanyi. I saw a hand raised, and I'm thinking, okay, yes, Ifeanyi has replied. I'm not sure if
Or
the hand,
Rufa.
yeah,
Oh, I
I
think
think
it's still off.
that hand. Is anybody raising hand to ask a question before I read other?
Hello.
Okay, okay, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, can I hear you?
Yeah, actually, going through the slides and listening from, the interested speaker, something caught my attention, and I think I need a little bit of clarity somewhere.
Okay.
Um, being a business analyst and studying a little bit of data, I happened to, get to see a thin line in between, and there's this fact that even a business analyst collects data, we process, we analyze, and we uncover actionable insights and trends from data. And
Mhm.
what I think from business analytical view we do is we even tend to do a little more than just processing the data or collecting the data or analyzing the data, we tend to look at trends just like the same way. And we tend to also communicate the data. We look at the strategic point of view, what has changed, what prompted the changes. We tend to uncover a lot much more than just the data analytical process does. And now, is it that the business analyst does more than the data analyst? Because what I see in this for data analyst is a little lesser than what the business analyst does. So is it that the business analyst have to do a little more than the data analyst, or the data analysis is more like an additional leverage for somebody who's already a business analyst?
So the way I will look at it is they are all complementary. I'll put it that way. But they are also distinct roles. You as a business analyst, data analysis, data analysis, or whatever you're doing is just a I mean, don't let me put it because it depends on the organization. It's just a component of whatever you are doing to get your business strategy, operations, and decision making process in shape. Or in some cases, like in my own organization, putting together all the functional spec, the technical, and all of those specifications. You analyze the data. In some cases, you analyze the data, but most times you are not totally involved in the process of collecting, um, fully analyzing and creating actionable insights from that particular data set. Your own part of the process is to understand what is coming from either maybe the technical people or the other stakeholders and present it in a way that it is more easier for your developers or the people that will be developing your solution or any other that will be working on the real technical stuff to be able to how can I put it, to be able to implement what the business will use and what the business will take care of. So you use data as a business analyst, but you doing the full work of a data analyst, I don't think they are in the same position. For example, like I said,
But for a consultant,
oh,
for
for
a
a consultant, you do
consultant,
everything now.
you do everything. So because I'm looking from the consultancy, aspect of it.
Point of view.
Because in the recent project I just concluded, I happened to actually do a consultancy project of an organization, and I happened to do virtually
Mm-hmm.
everything. Although the problem I'm having, which immediately I saw the link, I clicked on it. I was eager to know the tools, these analytical tools. Um, Oftentimes, learning data is interesting, but the most interesting part of data is getting to learn how to use this Tableau, learn how to, what's the right application, the right app to actually access and,
The data that you're working
utilize
on.
the tools to really get to see the analysis properly. I happen to just use Pivot on Excel to analyze most of the data. And
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't so fulfilled, let me use that word, because I was looking for something much more. Like if you're looking for something and you haven't gotten what you're not getting the real insight you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for in the set
You
of data
continue
you've
looking.
collected. You keep
Mm-hmm.
looking, and although at a point I just gave up and just,
Okay.
use the
Now
data
the
I had.
question. Let me ask you this question: the organization, what is their predominant tool? What tool did they use? What tool is available?
The organization is having zero presence online, so I
Okay.
have to collect primary data. Like I have to collect most of the data from even they themselves, the operation managers, the drivers, and all of that. So it's a whole lot on my hand because
Mm-hmm.
if it were to be an organization that has an online presence where you can collect most of their data from Statista, Market Line, you can collect most
Mm-hmm.
of their data from several, resource apps, but
Yeah.
they don't really have much of their data online, and
So,
it's a whole lot.
see, one of the things that you need to do, especially since you are collecting a lot of those data from different sources online, what I would say is that Python seems more suited for what you are doing. Excel will stress you, except you are willing to write VBAs. If you are not willing to write VBAs, then the most logical tool to use, because you need to collect all of this data from wherever they are and push it into a database. So for most organizations, I realized that Power BI or Tableau might not work for them. And the reason being that for Power BI, before you can display Power BI data, you must have Power BI server license, because you don't want to be sending Power BI files to a lot of people. Yes, you want them to be able to click a link and it will open up and show the dashboard, right? So it is a whole lot of ball game when you have to set up a Power BI infrastructure for them. And in some cases, they don't even have the money to be able to go all the way. So, which means, and this leaves you with using Python and Excel. I usually tell people that there's nothing you want to do in Power BI or Tableau, for example, that you can't do in Excel. Where there's a will, there's always a way. So you as a person, don't beat up yourself too much because you are using a less fancy tool. The question I usually ask myself is that, is it answering the question? Before my organization went Power BI way, we use Excel and SharePoint. You will see all your fancy chart, all your fancy looking dashboard in Excel. Immediately you click the link, it just open up in Excel and you see it. Now we are using Power BI. Or in the past, we've used Spotfire, but the licensing and the fact that it's not as flexible as we wanted it to be. And my Power BI was cheaper. That was why we went the Power BI way. So you as a business analyst or a data analyst, at times you might need to conform to the tool that is available in the organization you are trying to work with. If they have Power BI, use Power BI for them. If they have Excel, use Excel. But when you have multiple or disparate data sources, I will advise you that you should use a tool like Python. And if the organization has money to spend, roughly give or take maybe about $5,000 for Ultrix, they should also get Ultrix. Ultrix allows you to pull data from all the sources, for example, into a single location. So there was a project that I was working on, and my data sources is like five. Ultrix made it a breeze for me. So do you understand? Or does that clear up some of your concerns?
Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe I'll just step up on my game on learning Python. I was learning, but I just abandoned it.
You have to constantly be learning tools, and situations will determine which one you are going to use.
Sincerely. Mm,
Yeah,
I'll step up my game then. Thank you so much. Yeah.
you are
Okay,
welcome.
welcome. Okay, I think Toiba has raised his hand. I just want to allow Toy because Elijah I read one of your questions. So Toiba has not asked any questions. So let him ask. And we are 16 minutes after 5. So we'll
Okay.
wrap up. So Toy, now your question quickly so that I can just read one last question from Elijah. Your hand is raised. So okay. Okay, so let me quickly read Elijah's question. He said, is there any play around with Alteryx and other high-end data tools that you mentioned earlier?
So the quickest way to answer that is, do you have an official mail that is not Yahoo or Gmail?
Hmm.
If you do, yes. If you have Yahoo or Gmail, it won't work. It won't allow you to,
Oh, so it's
especially Outlook. It must be
yes,
an enterprise email.
right. Okay, so that answers your questions, Elijah. And I think Ogunlade just clarified this question, saying data analyst. He was asking about the
Oh,
certification. So I think it's like more like how much it was the estimate or what is the questioning? How can someone be certified? What are the cost implications? So it says for
so
data.
for data analyst, for me, I would say for a data analyst, the cost implication is you having free internet. I mean, sorry, not free internet. You having internet and you having the will to be
Mm,
able to read on your own. So, for example, if you want to become a Microsoft certified data analyst, which I think is Power BI involved, then what you need is about, I think for Nigeria, you need between $75 to $100 to become certified. You can always check because I think they have some discount for Nigerians. Mine is my own certifications are paid for by my organization. So when I did my Azure and some other ones, it was my organization that paid for it. We had 100% voucher, but now they've reduced it to 50%. So which means I have to pay 50% of the cost. So Azure, Microsoft also has some learnings that you can do online. I think they call it Microsoft Learn. Just go to Microsoft Learn, check for their data analyst course. Data analyst course. You go through different modules. Once you go through those modules, because it has hands-on that you have to practice, then go for the exam.
mm,
So it's going to cost you maybe just between $100 to $150 or less. And only search online for free vouchers. Microsoft has tons of them out there.
mm. Wow. So I'm sure Ogunlade, you have this now. Go on Microsoft Learn, with plenty of data, and then your zeal, your willingness to learn. And of course, you could earn free vouchers online, right? So that you
Yeah.
can use the exam and just your dedication. Then your next opportunities are waiting you. Thank you so much for that response. I'm not sure if
I think
anyone,
Charles
Charles,
Chuku raised the.
yes, Charles, you have a question?
Okay, yes. Thank you for the expose and the detailed explanation, Mr. K. I know you didn't want us to call you Engineer K, but
No, I'm
honestly,
just kidding. No title, no nothing.
you've done a very good job at giving us, like um, a deep dive into what is required. But I just wanted to know if one wanted to do an investigation, like an analysis of lots, tons of emails, like a system, like Microsoft 365 has, you've been, you've been receiving emails, from clients and stuff like that. Now you just want to analyze those emails. Which tool um, um, would be able to speak to that, would be able to do that effectively? And yes, maybe what would it involve?
On the top of my head, I would say Excel, but you being able to analyze with Excel means that you have to have a list of keywords. So Excel is out of it. So Excel will not wade through your data. So which means that you'll be looking at machine learning techniques to analyze your emails, then help you to get a pattern out of it. In some cases, it can also help you to um, create some sort of classification or look for keywords in your email. So
Okay.
it's not something that you are going to use with just your narrative. So which means that you are likely going to need Python and you're likely going to need um, some machine learning techniques to be able to help you. Or one of the things that you can do, which is also a cheat mode, if those emails are not too sensitive, you will tell
Mhm.
ChatGPT to analyze it for you. And you will tell it
Okay.
to create a Python script to do something similar. It's a cheat that I mean, if the data that I'm looking at is not too sensitive, I'll just ask either I prefer ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT, you can use the Google Gemini or the
Mhm.
former name Google Bard, or you can use Claude AI. I'm still testing Claude AI, but it's
Okay.
more interesting. And I think it's more suited for people that are doing data analysis and co. That's Claude AI. So you as a person, take the data, dump it into any of this AI to tell them to analyze it. Once they analyze it, you can tell them generate a Python script to analyze something similar. So take the code, modify it, play around with it, and all of those things. So use AI to give you a jump off point
Okay.
rather than write everything from this ground up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so
Thanks.
much. The time is really, 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 really against us, but I think just one last question from here. Uh, Kazim asks, between Power BI and Tableau, which would you advise one goes for? And
They
that's
are doing the same thing essentially, but Power BI is free to download and cheap.
mm,
Where Power BI is going to hook your neck is when you have to publish.
right.
So you have to pay for server licenses and co. But you can download Power BI right now and start practicing. Tableau, you can get a free trial version of Tableau, but maybe in 30 days it expires. But if you are somebody that don't mind pushing your work online, I think they have a Tableau public version where you can play, but you can't make it private. For you to make that work private, it means you have to pay. Unlike that Power BI that you can do on your PC and nobody will see it. But whatsoever you design on Tableau public or Tableau online, if you're not paying, the entire world is seeing it. So from a cost point of view, I will go with Power BI.
Okay.
But from
Wow.
a functionality point of view, Tableau seems to have more functionality than Power BI. Yeah.
Wow. You've given us a whole lot, like a whole lot this time. So I'm wondering if you have any last words before we call it a day, before we say thank you so much for
I've
for your
said
time
it
today.
all. I mean, I've said it all. I mean, so one of the things that you just need to know is that as a data analyst or a data person, you have to continue to learn, you have to continue to talk to people, you have to continue to be curious. Curiosity is something that nobody can teach you. So it means that you have to continue to be curious, which means you have to be able to ask question on why. People will get frustrated with you, which means that you need to also improve your communication skills so that people will not get annoyed while you're asking them why and why and why, then and all of those things. So that's it from me. And it's an opportunity connecting with every one of you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kay, for your time. You've really given us, enough, in terms of becoming a data analyst. I now know the nuances. I know the opportunities. I know the skills. I know, the soft skill as well, which is communication. You have to be able to communicate.
And
So
tell
thank you.
stories.
Yeah. So I believe with all of this, we can, take action. And if you're already on the path of our data analytics, learning pathway, you know that yes, you are already doing what is right. And if you are just going to get started, please, I'm sure with all of the tips on, how to learn, you can also start with learning on Microsoft Learn. Just start with that. It doesn't
Okay.
require
Oh,
any payments. No payments. You just need to start learning. You just need your internet access and you're good to go. So, and with that, you can also even get free vouchers, right? That's
yeah.
we don't have free things. Get free voucher, write an exam, you become certified. Push out your portfolio. You mentioned something about you can go on Data Science portal where you can push out your portfolio to showcase your work. So sometimes we're looking for, okay, how do you recognize me? How would they know who I am? You can showcase your work from all of this. People start recognizing you. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And
Thank
so
you.
we now drop the curtain. Thank you so much, Kay, for your time. Thank you for honoring this invite. Thank you for spending your evening with us. Thank you for sharing you from your wealth of knowledge. I can't thank you enough. Thank
Thank you for
you.
having me as well.
Sorry, thank you. Please, can you please drop that? Can you help us with your slide? Just
Hey,
for
yes, I will
Okay,
drop
thank
it
you so much.
with
okay, yes,
Raman.
I'll send it as a mail for all of for everyone here.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Wow,
Thanks,
yeah,
everybody.
I'll also make the recording available as well. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.
Bye,
Thank you. Bye
everyone.
bye. Have a lovely day. Thank you so much.
Yeah.